News White House correspondent. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
So, Donald Trump talking about taxes, but did I miss something? Is there a tax plan that he released?
Oh, no, you didn't miss anything. There's no plan. These are just principles, broad brushstrokes of what the president would like to see get done. But it's notable that at this point, the White House is essentially leaving it to Congress to come up with the plan and drafting legislation. It's squarely on their shoulders. The White House back in April released a one-page outline of bullet points. The president wants to see corporate tax rates slashed, individual tax rates slashed. But there isn't a detailed game plan at this point. And the White House says the president will make the case for why tax reform is necessary, and it's up to Congress to come up with how they'll get it done. They're very confident that this can all happen by the end of the year. But I should note, a couple months ago, the Treasury Secretary said this would get done by the end of August. Today is the last day of August, and there's literally nothing on paper yet.
I don't mean to be flippant about this, but with what's going on down in Houston, no tax plan to talk about. Why did he go to Springfield other than a pep rally?
Yeah, and, it wasn't that typical campaign-style rally that we've seen. It was at a small business, and they were, able to talk about what the business does and how it would be impacted. But I do think it was a curious pivot for the president. He's down in Texas on Tuesday. The nation is clearly very focused on Hurricane Harvey, but they kept up with that schedule because they say he wants to keep pushing this forward. This is a priority for the legislative agenda. But there's also some rumblings in Washington of, why weren't you doing this all of August? There was certainly speculation in July that the president would hit the road quite a bit. Congress is out of town. He would get out of town, talk about tax reform. And a lot of other things happened in August that certainly took away from that. Now, Congress comes back next week. They've got to do spending bills. They have to consider an increase for the debt ceiling and most likely a Harvey recovery package. Those things are more urgent for lawmakers than the president's tax reform plan.
Yeah, let's talk about that Hurricane Harvey relief package. It seems that the Republicans are firing at each other over who's lying, who's telling the truth about Hurricane Sandy versus Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah, and I think the politics, the finger-pointing right now is happening because nobody's here. We'll see what happens when they get back to town next week. I think the notable thing has been this response from New Jersey and New York members of Congress who are saying, hey, we remember what happened 4 years ago with the Sandy aid bill and who voted against it, looking at you, Texas, but we're not going to do that this time around. The defense from the Texas lawmakers was, well, this bill was not about just Sandy relief. There was a ton of other stuff jammed in there, which isn't exactly true. But I think the president all this week has said that, this overwhelming spirit of bipartisanship and humanity is going to come together, and they're going to easily get Texas and Louisiana the money they need. Maybe that's a bold statement, given that he wasn't here for the Sandy fight.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing if Chuck Schumer calls out Ted Cruz. It's another thing when Chris Christie calls out Ted Cruz.
They really don't like each other. I think, again, not to be flippant, but some of those comments yesterday, this back and forth, the campaign has not ended for the two of them.
That is Karen Travers, ABC News correspondent at the White House. Karen, thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
7-11.